I did not think I would ever in a million years make a video like this. But as you guys can see from the title of this video, I am not happy with the current state of Fairy Tail. But if you guys want to hear more about me and my personal life and why I've been private in my videos, why I've been taking breaks, I'm about to talk about that stuff right now. But if you only care about Fairy Tail, I understand. Click this part of the video and it'll take you straight to the point where I start talking about Fairy Tail, giving my honest thoughts on Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest. But for everybody who's been supporting me for 8 years, trust me, I'm grateful. I know you guys must be thinking, yo, why'd you change your name from Underrated Mage to Underrated Man? Why you be taking breaks? What's been happening? Why have you been leaving us in the dust? First of all, I just gotta say that I'm sorry for not being transparent with you guys, but at the same time, I do have to say that I did undergo a huge transition in my life on where I gave my life to Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, the man, the Son of God who died for our sins. And when I started doing Fairy Tail content, I was 15 years old. Even before I had this channel, I was 15 years old. I made this channel when I was 17, and I thought that I was going to be talking about anime and manga for the rest of my life. I was even thinking about making my own manga series, but now that I've found Jesus, me personally, I'm not saying that I'm done with anime and manga as a whole, because I still do like anime and manga, but the same drive that I have, it's not there anymore, especially for a series like Fairy Tail, which I'm going to talk about later on. But as far as me just basically staying on here talking about Fairy Tail forever, that's not going to happen, just because the current state of Fairy Tail and me as a person as a whole, I've changed. Now, I will still be doing anime content on this channel, but that is one of the main reasons why I haven't really been uploading. We all know that Fairy Tail, it's not the most purest series. It's not a series that God would look at and smile at, because obviously there's magic in it, which he considers an abomination, and there's also a lot of fan service in it. Hiro Mashima was always drawing females in a seductive way, and I didn't want to really come on here and promote that stuff, but seeing as how there's already people, fans of Fairy Tail, who might be looking for somebody to talk about content, that was my reason of coming back and doing it. And hopefully I could get some of you guys to believe in Christ as well, because yeah, while it is cool to have entertainment, at the end of the day, none of this stuff matters. It will all be gone, and the only thing that will be left is you standing before God when you do die, and he's going to ask if you do have faith in, if you have faith in Jesus Christ. And if you say no, I wouldn't wish this on anybody. I wouldn't wish for you to go to hell. So hopefully we could have a good time talk about anime and manga, but most importantly, hopefully you guys, if you haven't already, given your life to Jesus Christ, because he died for all of our sins, and it is a free grace of salvation. Yes, you will have to change if you are currently living in sin, whether it's fornication, which is sleeping before marriage, or anything else, but the good side is you will be free from any demonic strongholds, and you will have a brand new life with Jesus Christ. Now, for everybody who wants to hear about Fairy Tail, yes, because I do not like Fairy Tail right now. I'll just keep it 100% honest with you guys. Even if I didn't give my life to Christ, I still will be struggling with Fairy Tail content, because the current state of Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest is so bad in my opinion. Now, if you love Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest, you think that everything's perfect, leave in the comment section down below why I'm wrong. I'm open to hearing you guys' opinion, because at the end of the day, it is all just opinion. But you guys already know I am not a Fairy Tail hater. I'm not just trying to jump on the Fairy Tail hate bandwagon, because Fairy Tail is one of the most hated series ever. So the fact that I'm coming on here saying that I dislike Fairy Tail, somebody who's been making content on this for over 8 years, back when Fairy Tail was weekly, I was the one defending Fairy Tail from all the Fairy Tail haters. So this isn't just me coming on here just to hate on Fairy Tail for no reason. No, no, no. As somebody who was a fan of the series, I am genuinely disappointed, and I'm going to discuss all the reasons why I'm disappointed with Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest. But the main reason why, we have to look at Hiro Mashima. Hiro Mashima goes on Twitter and he brags whenever he makes his mangaka comments or whenever he's in interviews, and he always brags how he doesn't really plan out Fairy Tail, or even Eden Zero for that matter. And I'm just looking at him like, yo, what is your problem? You have this cash cow, this amazing fantasy series that could be something great. You guys already know, I've been saying on this channel that Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest, it could have been the equivalent to what Naruto Shippuden was to Naruto, what Dragon Ball Z was to Dragon Ball. I thought it was going to be a perfect sequel series. I thought it had potential to be a banger, instant classic, but due to Hiro Mashima not really caring about his story and him not planning out Faairy Tail, this is what I think holds back Faairy Tail massively, and this is why I ultimately think that Hiro Mashima, he will never hit that next step in terms as a mangaka and hit that huge mainstream popularity, because it's obvious in his works that he doesn't really plan stuff out like how he used to do back in the OG Faairy Tail. Faairy Tail up until, I guess you could say, the Avatar arc, when he began rushing things for Eden Zero. Back then, I loved that. I loved it more than the big three. I was a massive fan of Faairy Tail, but once we got into the final arc, it was evident that Hiro Mashima was rushing things, which is a huge problem in Faairy Tail 100 Year Quest. This is why you don't build bad habits, because it will keep on following you, as we can see with the end of Eden Zero and with Faairy Tail 100 Year Quest. Because Hiro Mashima, even in the final arc, he said, "Oh, I didn't plan for the ending of Eden Zero." Like, why are you telling us that stuff? You are a mangaka, you should be planning out everything, and it just makes me sad, because it goes to show you that he's not putting in all the effort that he can into making Faairy Tail what it should be. Now, as far as the story of Faairy Tail 100 Year Quest, I'm going to break this down. Number one, the antagonists suck. Yes, the 5 dragon gods, these guys are the biggest letdown in all of anime history, because for number one, these are supposed to be dragons who are as strong as Acnologia, and these guys, 5 of them have already been defeated in 150 chapters. Let that sink in. I know some people might be thinking, oh, but Acnologia, he was a pushover. No. I'm not buying the ending that Acnologia got. I personally still do think that we didn't get to see the full power of Acnologia. It's obvious that Faairy Tail's final ending was rushed, and we didn't get to see the full potential of Acnologia. So it is kind of hard to say, oh, it's kind of hard to hype up Acnologia when he got taken out. But if you're a real supporter of Faairy Tail, you would know that Acnologia is a million times stronger than what he was shown to be in his final fight with Natsu. And these dragon gods, they were hyped up to be as strong as Acnologia, and they all just keep on getting beaten and just treated like fodder, like they're regular dragons. Like, they're literally not living up to the name as dragon god. We see the water dragon god, he didn't really get to use his full power because he was being controlled, so I gave it a pass. It was the first dragon god. And then we moved on to the wood dragon god Aldron. We saw that when he was awakened, he wasn't at full power because he was in slumber for such a long time. So I was like, all right, cool, I'll give that a pass too. Then we moved on to Selene, the moon dragon god, which I think was handled the best, because while she did end up taking a Mercuphobia route and end up becoming a good guy as well, she ended up joining the side of the heroes. We still got to see her full power, and she wasn't really defeated by Team Natsu, the group on the 100 Year Quest. We saw that it literally took Ignia to defeat her in order to get Selene out of the picture, so I'll give her a pass. But the moment when Faairy Tail 100 Year Quest took a huge nosedive in terms of story writing and quality is with Dogramag, the Earth Dragon God, aka the 6th Dragon God. Now, this was the first time in Faairy Tail 100 Year Quest, well, I wouldn't say along with Toka, because the Toka plot twist, it was amazing. Figuring out that she's from a Lantera, a whole new world, I'll give credit to Hiro Mashima on that. But this was another huge moment in Faairy Tail 100 Year Quest where we saw a massive plot twist that was on par with the OG Faairy Tail series, whether it was Acnologia being a human or Zeref being Natsu's brother. Finding out that there was another dragon god, that there's actually 6 dragon gods, this was an amazing plot twist. And Dogramag, he had an amazing character. Like, we found out that he was the only person in the whole wide world who was considered to be Ignia's friend, aka the main antagonist. We saw that he even acknowledged Ignia as his brother. So the relationship that these two had, it would have been so fire. It would have been perfect if we got to see this relationship get fleshed out. Why did they team up? What was their plan for the world that they were going to create? There was just so many things I was thinking once we did get introduced to Dogramag, and once Hiro Mashima decided to defeat him and kill him off, I was like, okay, so now Hiro Mashima, he's going to start making Faairy Tail 100 Year Quest start being more predictable. There's not going to be too much plot twist, and this was a huge moment that Hiro Mashima dropped the ball with, because All he had to do was make Dogger Mag survive and meet up with Ignia. I'm not even asking him to kill off Natsu or any of the 5th generation Dragon Slayers. No, no, no. All I'm asking for is that Hiro Mashima, I would have hoped that he would have made Dogger Mag survive and meet up with Ignia, because that would have added a whole new layer to the story. Like, yo, we would have been able to see 2 dragon gods fighting up against the main characters for the first time, and this would have been completely unpredictable because we wouldn't know if the main character is going to win. We would have been able to see 2 dragon gods at full power, because when Dogger Mag awakened, he wasn't at full power, and then they treated Dogger Mag the same way how they treated the wood dragon god. Like, yo, the same way how we had the wood dragon god, he had to have his cores defeated in order to weaken him. The same thing happened with Dogger Mag. It was his cores getting crushed, and then he was weakened, and Natsu was able to take him down. And I was just like, yo, this is low-key trash. Hiro Mashima, he's already using stuff from his previous fights, and it isn't even like 100 chapters long. This literally happened like 50 chapters ago. So I don't understand why he was using the same formula for Dogger Mag that he used with the wood dragon god. And once Dogger Mag was defeated and we didn't get to see his character fully fleshed out in his backstory with Ignia and him at full power, that's when I was like, okay, this is kind of trash. I'm not gonna lie, I can already see where this is going. And then we move on to the worst, yes, the worst dragon god of them all, Vernice, aka the gold dragon god. And I will be honest with you guys, Chief, this is when I completely threw out all my stocks for Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest. With this arc, this was single-handedly the worst arc in all of Fairy Tail, because not only were we introduced to Vernice, a dragon god who was going to be at full power, but we were also getting introduced to alchemists. And in case you guys didn't know, Zeref was an alchemist. Yes, the strongest character, one of the strongest characters in the series, he was an alchemist, and we saw how strong and all the crazy things he was able to do. Granted, it was because of the curse of God Ank'Saram, which I don't even think we're going to be able to see in Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest, and I doubt we're going to see him in Fairy Tail Next Generation. But the fact that the alchemists were such a disappointment, and they were even worse than anything that we see in Fairy Tail, like, these guys were complete fodder. This was just a huge no-go for me, and this is when I knew, okay, Hiro Mashima, he's not going to take time to develop his story anymore. We're just going to be going from point A, point B, point C, point D with no plot twist. It's just going to be a straight, linear, predictable, boring story, and that's why I was super disappointed with how the alchemists were. And then we get to see Vernice, the gold dragon god, and oh my goodness, she literally only had, I don't know if it's a he or she, but she or he literally only had like 3 chapters to defeat a dragon god. Are you insane? What is Hiro Mashima thinking? Who thought that this was a good thing? I know there's some people thinking, oh, well, Natsu's a dragon slayer, we never got to really see him slay dragons, so it's good that they're beating dragons. No, that logic does not apply to dragon gods. These dragons are said to be on par, if not stronger, than Acnologia, and all it took to defeat Vernice was basically the combined power of the people from the Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest crew: Lucy, Urza, Gray, Wendy, Carla, Happy. We saw Stain, Rogue, Minerva, Yukino. They were there too because Sabretooth, they decided to tag along. Jalal was there as well. That's all that it took, their combined power alongside with Natsu's power, in order to defeat Vernice. And the way how he was defeated was trash. Like, it literally was 3 or so chapters. Like, Hiro Mashima, we didn't even get to see if Vernice had a human form. We see all the other dragon gods had human form, and Vernice, he was fond of humans because he recruited humans in the Signario sisters from Ignia's camp, and he used them in his crew. So he obviously didn't necessarily completely hate humans. We knew that he thought that they were below him, but I would assume that he would have a human form just like all the other dragon gods. And speaking of the Signario sisters, while it was a cool little plot twist to figure out that they're not actually Vernice's servants and they're actually underneath Ignia, I'm still not super excited for them because, let's be honest, the track record of the Dragon God's assistants is trash. I mean, we see what happened with Celine's assistant. They were super fodder and forgettable, so I'm not excited to see anything from the Signario sisters. I assume that Urza, maybe even Lucy and Wendy will body him this time. So even though it is a neat little plot twist that they were actually with Ignia all along and they are returning back to Ignia's castle, I'm not excited to see them anymore, especially with how they were handled in their fight versus Urza. Yeah, they did push her limits, but just ended up being a same old Urza fight. She just overpowers her opponent. And I didn't used to hate on Urza back in the OG Fairy Tail. I recognized that she was one of the strongest. But you had the Signario sisters, 2 of them, who were said to be super overpowered, and yet Urza beats them like it's nothing. So at this point, I'm not really expecting anything from the Signario sisters, but I was super disappointed with the finale of the Vernice fight. This was honestly dog water, trash, whatever you want to call it. This was the worst arc in all of Fairy Tail. And speaking of arcs in Fairy Tail, literally every single arc only lasts like 25 chapters. Like, yo, what type of formula is this? Why is Hiro Mashima limiting every single arc to around 25 or 27 chapters? This is the dumbest thing that I've seen. I think the longest arc we had was a Celine one, and that was her going from a villain to a good guy. So we got to see a whole bunch of things happen, but for the most part, every single dragon god is getting handled within 25 chapters, and this is just so dumb. And this goes back to Hiro Mashima not planning out his story, and this is why you get arcs that feel like they're rushed. And the overall story of Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest, it feels like that it's been rushed and it's not planned for, and it's evident because Hiro Mashima himself literally confirms that he does not plan out his series. So we can see from the lack of preparation alone that since Hiro Mashima doesn't really care about planning out Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest, it takes a huge toll on the story writing, and this is why I think Fairy Tail is suffering right now, and I think that it's not enjoyable as it used to be. And the biggest thing, the second thing that I dislike about Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest is I hate how little development the main characters get. So far, Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest, the only people who really get shine in terms of power is Natsu, Lucy a little bit with her new star dresses, Urza, and sometimes Wendy. Now that she lost Irene, she doesn't really get any power-ups. But for characters like Gray, Laxus, Gagio, Gildarts, characters who we all like in our top tier, they don't really get any shine. Now obviously I'm going to exclude Laxus because he did just get a brand new power up that did make him take out his 2nd generation Dragon Slayer power, and now he's a 5th generation Dragon Slayer. And you would think, oh, now we'll be able to see Laxus develop that power more. No, we still don't get to see Laxus. He just been thrown aside. So he got this brand new power up, but we're not even going to be able to see him use it. And this is what I mean when I say the lack of planning. Like Hiro Mashima, he could have easily written in some way how to have other characters accompany them on the 100 Year Quest. I know some people are going to be like, oh, but they can't bring people along. BS. We see that they brought Jalal along, and we see they brought along Sting, Rogue, and everybody else. So Hiro Mashima, he could have easily written in some way to have Laxus into the story and flex his brand new power. But with Gray, this has to be the biggest disappointment, the biggest shafting in anime and manga history. Gray is literally a Devil Slayer. He's supposed to be on par, if not stronger than Natsu. We saw that Silver, he was able to one-shot Natsu, and he would have been able to completely kill him if he wanted to. But Gray, with his Devil Slaying powers, he's over here fighting minions, doing all this remedial stuff. He's not even using his Devil Slayer power all the time, even though he has full control over it. So Gray not using his Devil Slayer magic and him not getting development, this is another huge disappointment. And I know some people, they might say, oh, but they're not fighting devils, they're fighting dragons, so obviously the Dragon Slayers would get shine. That can be a good argument, but at the same time, no, because we saw what Silver was able to do with his magic. He was still fighting people, he was fighting Gray, and he was still doing work with his Devil Slayer magic, and we saw how strong he was. Whereas Devil Slaying magic, it seems like that Gray's not even using it, even though it was a gift from his father, and he's learning how to master it. And Gagio not really getting any character development or character spotlight is kind of sad, because when I first started Fairy Tail, Gagio was easily my favorite character, but now he's just a stay-at-home dad. He's literally not doing anything, and yet they still want us to believe that he's Natsu's rival. So it is kind of sad to see how other characters besides Natsu, Lucy, and Urza really get handled, because nobody else is really getting power-ups, and it's all really about Natsu. And granted, I like Natsu. I think he's a dope and fun main character, and I like seeing him get brand new power-ups, but not at the cost of having everybody else being sidelined. What happened to the days when Natsu and Gray were fighting side by side against Margear? We need to bring those days back. Or how about the days when it took everybody in Fairy Tail working together in order to take down Hades? Those are the days that I've missed, and it's just sad that Hiro Mashima doesn't give spotlight to other people who aren't even necessarily side characters. They can be considered main characters, but possibly the biggest travesty of them all is the underdevelopment of the pairing. Yes, Fairy Tail is a series that has its bread and butter in its pairings. That's one of the main reasons why a lot of people do tune into Fairy Tail. I like Fairy Tail because of the pairings. I want to see them actually get together, have a family, Fairy Tail Next Generation. I was super excited for that. But during the 100-year quest, we get absolutely no development for pairings, whether it's Natsu Lucy, Great Juvia, Urza and Jalal. I know some people are going to say, oh, but we got to see their children be confirmed. We already knew that these parents are getting together, and Hiro Mashima, he already said that he was going to do Fairy Tail Next Generation a long time ago, so we could have came to the conclusion, okay, they're going to end up having kids sometime sooner. So seeing them being confirmed, yeah, while it is cool, it wasn't necessarily groundbreaking. It was something that we were all expecting. I'm expecting to see their relationship actually grow together, seeing Natsu and Lucy actually come together and be like, okay, hey, I like you, okay, let's start working the things out. Even with Jalal and Urza, they're still on their same, forgive yourself, all this stuff, and they're probably the most developed pairing out of them all. But the fact that parents get so little screen time, this is something that I'm disappointed in. And I know some people are gonna be like, oh, but they're on the 100-year quest, they can't worry about this stuff. No. Team Natsu, these guys are the most unserious group of characters at all. I'm not saying that they got to start making out and talk about how they're going to move it together in the middle of a fight, but in between each arcs, I think that would have been the perfect time to develop the pairings. And it's just sad that the pairings, it seems like that they haven't been getting as much attention as they need in Fairy Tail 100-year quest. And last but not least, the world building has been absolutely atrocious. Like the OG Fairy Tail, its world building was so amazing, and it set up Fairy Tail 100-year quest to have this great world building. But even though we're on this brand new continent, we literally don't go and explore brand new places. It's literally going from point A to point B. I mean, the biggest shocking when it comes to world building would probably be the 5th generation Dragon Slayers, but that was to be expected. If Hiro Mashima didn't do something with the Dragon Slayers, then it wouldn't even be Fairy Tail as we know and love it. But the fact that the world builder has felt so stagnant is honestly disappointing, because Fairy Tail's a massive world, and I would have thought that Hiro Mashima would at least plan to show us how big the Fairy Tail world is. Yeah, we did get introduced to Alentor, but again, we didn't really get to explore. We don't know what type of universe it is really. So this is why I'm super disappointed when it comes to the world building. It feels like that Fairy Tail 100-year quest, and honestly, is just this soulless and lifeless spinoff that's only there just to try to please OG Fairy Tail fans. And me personally, as somebody who was supporting this series ever since I was 15, making videos on this series since I was 15, I was supporting it before then. This series has honestly been disappointment. It just feels like a lifeless cash grab, just to say, hey guys, I didn't give up on Fairy Tail. But in all actuality, Hiro Mashima doesn't really care about Fairy Tail, and for some strange reason, I don't know why. Like, why is Hiro Mashima rushing to get rid of Fairy Tail? This is his most popular series, a series that he's built up, and even in his brand new series like Eden Zero or Dead Rock, they still do pay a lot of homage to Fairy Tail. So it's not like he's just doing a completely brand new series like how Tahiko Inoue is, the author of Vagabond, Slam Dunk, and Rio. Whenever he goes off and does a brand new series, we see, okay, these series are completely different. But with Hiro Mashima's new series, they all do feel like Fairy Tail. So I just don't know why he's giving Fairy Tail this poor treatment. This is basically the end of the video. If you guys want to see a video of me discussing the things that I do like about Fairy Tail 100-year quest, let me know in the comment section down below. Because while I am not disappointed, there are a couple things that I do like, but for an overall majority of the series, I can say that I am truly disappointed. And me personally, I think that Fairy Tail 100-year quest has started to do a huge nosedive in terms of enjoyability. And even once the anime does come out and people begin to see just how flawed the story is, I definitely do think that it's going to cause the series of Fairy Tail to take a huge plummet, and it won't be as popular as Fairy Tail used to be. Comment what you guys think down below. Subscribe if you haven't. Peace out.